may I have a motion that the closed meeting be closed, and that the board certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting to which this certification applies, and only such business matters which were identified in the motion concerning the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Edwards, seconded by Mr. Campbell. Roll call?
No, it was not by Mr.
Oh,
Campbell.
I heard, I'm sorry. Mr. Palmer.
Robin, have we been so together? We've been so like.
Sorry about that. So Mr. Edwards and Mr. Palmer. Roll call?
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Abstain.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson? Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Now, if you'll please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's see, Mr. Nichols, we have some recognitions tonight.
We do have quite a few recognitions tonight, Mr. Chairman. And of course, as we usually do, I'm going to invite Ms. Hyde up to lead us with these recognitions.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nichols, school board members. Tonight, I have the privilege of introducing our April Senior of the Month as well as our May Senior of the Month. And the reason we're doing both is because our Senior of the Month banquet is going to be held before our next school board meeting, so we'd like to recognize those students tonight. Our first Senior of the Month for April is Parkview High School, Emily Stradowski. Emily? Emily is the daughter of the late Sandra Stradowski of South Hill, and she lives with her uncle, Keith Carter. Emily is a very kind, sweet, and generous person who cares deeply about others, and Parkview High School is very proud to have her as the Senior of the Month. She is dedicated to her studies, and she maintains honorable grades, and she is very frequently known to have earned all A's. She does extracurricular activities. She loves sports. She is currently the forward on the soccer team. She likes to play flute and the baritone in the concert band. She is also the drum major this past year for the marching band. Emily said, when I was in the pit in the 8th grade, I looked at the drum major and I said, that's what I want to do. And so she worked really hard in the 9th grade and the 10th grade and the 11th grade and to earn that position. And she likes being a leader. This year, the band earned a superior rating in the concert and marching assessments, and Mr. McDilda said that Emily is a great musician and she has excellent leadership potential. She really was one of the best drum majors that Parkview High School has ever had. Emily's older sister, Sarah, is a cancer survivor, and she is Emily's inspiration. She volunteers for Relay for Life, and she participates in the March of Dimes as another fundraiser. On the 29th, she will also participate in the March of Dimes walk in Richmond. When she has free time, she likes to work at Food Lion, and she has also worked at Rona's Italian restaurant in South Hill. When she graduates from Parkview High School, she will attend SVCC, and then she will transfer to a college. She's not quite sure which college yet, but she is considering something in biology or a science field. So again, this is Parkview High School's April Senior of the Month, Emily Stradowski. All right, at this time, I'd like to recognize Bluestone High School April Senior of the Month, and it's Aaron Baskerville. All right, Aaron Daniel Baskerville is Bluestone High School's April Senior of the Month. He is the son of Miss Jacqueline Baskerville, and they reside in Clarksville, Virginia. He attends St. John's Baptist Church in Buffalo Junction, and he serves as an usher. He has a great personality and a very strong work ethic. He is a candidate for his advanced diploma this year at Bluestone High School. He enjoys history. His history teacher says the following: Aaron Baskerville is an exceptional student leader for Bluestone High School. He has a strong work ethic, which is not only displayed in his academic accomplishments, but also apparent through athletics. Aaron's commitment to achievement has made him a great example to his fellow classmates and will help him thrive as a successful Bluestone alumnus upon graduation in May. This demonstrates his overall capabilities. Aaron is a member of the Bluestone High School varsity baseball team. Coach Tyler Reese said, Aaron is a hard-working, dedicated player who consistently focuses on his books and the field. He never complains and always does what is asked of him. He has been a member of the baseball team for 4 years, and he is an asset to our team. Outside of school, Aaron likes to hunt and fish and play baseball, likes to ride his four-wheeler. And when he graduates, he wants to join the Air Force and focus on aerospace engineering. Bluestone High School is proud to have Aaron Baskerville for their Senior of the Month. Congratulations, Aaron. Sure.
And maybe they could hang around so we could
Yes, sir.
speak to them. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to recognize Parkview High School May Senior of the Month, and it is Tyson Christopher Crow. Tyson? Tyson Crow lives with his parents, Sarah and Brad Jones of La Crosse, and he is a member of Olive Branch Baptist Church. He has achieved academic success, and he is involved in school activities, and he demonstrates excellent citizenship. And Parkview High School is very proud to have this young man for their Senior of the Month. Tyson is a very competitive athlete. He has been a member of the cross-country team, basketball team, track team, and soccer team during his high school career. Soccer is his favorite sport. Last season, he was selected Tri-Rivers All-District Team and the 3A East All-Region Team. In addition to playing for Parkview, Tyson is a member of the Richmond Kickers Elite Team, and he travels with the Kickers to play against top athletes all over the state. Tyson is dedicated to his community, and he volunteers for Relay for Life. He also ran in the Jenny Kazee Memorial 5K. He also volunteers by collecting food for the food pantry, the bread box, and he also, when he has free time, doesn't sound like he has a whole lot, he also details cars at Boyd Honda. He does landscaping work for Around the House Lawn Care, and he referees youth games at the Lake Gaston Soccer Club. Very busy young man. Tyson's teachers hold him in very high regard. His history teacher, Miss Morris, teaches his dual enrollment class, says that he is just a really dependable person and a model student. Math is one of his favorite subjects, and he would like to attend Virginia Wesleyan College in the fall and major in business, and he would like to one day become a stockbroker. So congratulations to Parkview High School, Tyson Crow. And our last senior of tonight is Bluestone High School Senior of the Month, Sean Mullins. Sean? Sean Mullins is Bluestone High School's Senior of the Month. He is the son of Dr. and Mrs. Chris Mullins, and they reside in Skipwith, Virginia. He is a candidate for the associate degree upon his graduation at Bluestone High School from SVCC. He will earn an advanced diploma through the Virginia Department of Ed, and he is a member of the Bluestone High School Marching Barons and the Beta Club. The commitment to his studies and school activities exemplifies his multi-talents and time management. Katie Jackson is his teacher, and this is what she says. I have known and taught Sean for 3 years at Bluestone High School. He is a very talented and smart young man who will be able to do whatever he sets his mind to. Sean is a highly gifted musician, and his favorite instrument is the timpani. He is involved in many cultural organizations, and he uses his musical background during that time. He is a member of the Drum Corps International and the Winter Guard International. The band assistant at Bluestone High School says, Sean Mullins is a strong leader as he has worked hard to become a member of Drum Corps International Band last summer, and he toured around the United States. Sean has learned to play all percussion instruments in the marching and concert bands and is the section leader. Sean is knowledgeable as well as approachable to fellow band members who ask him for assistance. We can always rely on Sean to be given a task and have it completed to the fullest of his ability. Sean plans to attend Radford University and major in music and minor in Spanish. Bluestone High School is very proud to have Sean Mullins for their Senior of the Month. Okay, if you all want to be seated. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Rogers up to help me do the next presentation. This past year, Cumberland County Public Schools won a grant that involved professional development for history and social studies teachers. It was called the Library of Congress, Teaching Primary Resources. That was the topic for their grant. They invited Region 8 schools to participate. So Mecklenburg County Public School proudly had 8 teachers to participate in this grant opportunity. And we would like to recognize these teachers because it has been a year-long program. They did 3 sessions at Cumberland County High School, and then we concluded with a presentation at the Moton Museum in Farmville the week before spring break. So we'd like to recognize the following teachers.
Melissa Roethlisberger. Kimberly Hendrick. And 2 of mine were unable to attend tonight, Deanna Ray from Clarksville and Traylor Pertally from La Crosse. We had 1 teacher from each of the 8 schools to participate.
Catherine Peters. Nick Baker. Rosa Dunn. Sharon Wheely. Sure. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Chris McDilda, the band director at Parkview High School. Mr. McDilda? Parkview High School's band recently achieved the coveted status of Virginia Honor Band for 2016-17 school year. They have earned this accomplishment for 2 consecutive years and for the 4th time since Parkview began the programs in 2009. Virginia Honor Band status is awarded to those schools that earn superior rating at both the Virginia Band and the Orchestra Directors Association formal marching band and concert band assessments. Students begin this strenuous process in early July during their band camp, and they complete it with the final steps in March. And tonight we have some of the students that are part of this honor band that were able to join us tonight from Parkview High School, and I'd like to give them all a round of applause. Thank you. Mr. McDilda, can you have
Make sure y'all smile. Show teeth. Bryce, make sure y'all smile.
Mr. McDilda, before you guys leave, could you maybe introduce them by name for us?
Yes, right here we have Bryce Watson, Emily Ternowski, raise your hand. Casey Pierce, Aaron Brown, Janaise Walker, Shay Sturdivant, Sierra Thomas, Jacob Lester, Zach Curran, Rob Morris, Reed Piercy, Dallas Gardner, Catherine Moser, and we have Nyla Costello.
Well, why isn't she up here? Why isn't she up here? Well, she can be in both.
All right, guys, on 3. 1, 2, 3. One more.
Lost it now.
Mr. Chairman, at this point of the program, we have some other recognitions, and these are based on FBLA from Parkview High School as well. The first recognition is Meredith Clary. She is being recognized for FBLA Longwood Regional Parliamentarian. Meredith? Matthew Condicito, FBLA State Leadership Conference, Introduction to Business Communication, 4th place. Olivia Tanner, FBLA State Leadership Conference, Electronic Portfolio, 4th place. Madeline Tanner, FBLA State Leadership Conference, Job Interview, 3rd place. Nyla Costello, FBLA State Leadership Conference, Introduction to Business Presentation, 4th place. Anthony McAvoy, FBLA State Leadership Conference, Organizational Leadership, 4th place. Nyla Costello, FBLA State Leadership Conference, Community Service, 1st place. Madeline Tanner, FBLA State Leadership Conference, Community Service, 1st place. Olivia Tanner, FBLA State Leadership Conference, Community Service, 1st place.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nichols, and board members. We are very excited and appreciative of all of our FBLA students, and we're excited to announce as well that Nyla, Olivia, and Madeline will be representing Mecklenburg County Schools as well as the state of Virginia in the National FBLA Conference in June in Anaheim, California.
Mr. Cyphers, if I remember correctly, the seed for this year's competition that won them first place germinated at last year's national competition.
Yes, sir.
As the story goes. So it's well worth it being able to go and meet with other.
Yes, sir, that is correct. Their Kids Equal Play project. It's
Right.
an awesome community service project they're working on. Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay, now look,
And also a special thanks to Ms. Ferrier as well as Ms. Elmore, who have been excellent advisors to our students in the FBLA program at Parkview High School. At this time, we'd also like to recognize our AFJROTC. I'm going to ask Major Hoffman to come forward. She's going to talk to you all a little bit about the POW MIA ceremony that they're going to do tonight.
Good evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity. And I really, all I'm going to say now is that this is a very solemn ceremony, and of course, please keep your seats, but we do ask for silence. Thank you. Mr. Pugh?
Good afternoon, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the small table in your place of honor. It is set for one. This table symbolizes the fact that members of our professional arms are missing. We call them brothers and sisters. They are MIAs, missing in action, and POWs, prisoners of war. We will remember them tonight.
Ms. Hyde, I believe it would be appropriate if some of our winners, or all of our winners, could come back up so that our board, as we usually do, can congratulate them individually.
Ready for the superintendent's report?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I do want to say that we've had a lot of awards tonight. Certainly, we're proud of all of these students. I'll also say that in my many years working with school systems and school boards, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like the memorial service that we just had participate. It was quite outstanding, and we appreciate the students and the JROTC program for making that available for us. Thank you. First up tonight for our superintendent's report, we have a report from Mr. Mayhew and the 4-H Holiday Lake Agreement for July the 17th for the 21st. So, Mr. Mayhew.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Nichols, board members. The Transportation Department has received a request from the Mecklenburg County Virginia Cooperative Extension Office and Virginia Tech. They're requesting 3 buses, 2 to transport students and 1 to transport luggage to the 4-H camp at Holiday Lake. They'll be departing from central location over here in Boydton, and the bus will be departing Monday, July the 17th to carry the students and luggage to Holiday Lake, and then we will return Friday, July the 21st to pick them up. Virginia Tech will be providing the insurance coverage for the buses and the students. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayhew. And we will now move on to Mr. Dalton with some reports on some of our maintenance issues and a presentation on our update from Train after he gets through with this.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nichols, board members. The first thing on the agenda tonight is RFB 2018-001. This is school roof repairs. What we're basically asking tonight is that you report us issuing a RFB to obtain quotes for the prices to repair. This is basically the metal roofs on La Crosse, Chase City, Clarksville Elementary School, and the central office. They're 20-plus years old. They've reached the time. They're all in relatively good shape now. We just need to repair them as needed and get a coating system on it similar to the one that we used at Parkview Middle School. We just ask your support for that RFB tonight. Also, I'm pleased to announce that we do have, as you all know, we've been working since December of 2016 diligently with Train to try to get these numbers together this year. We presented a full comprehensive project to Joint Education Committee, and as you all know, well, they basically say the elementary schools will have to wait for a full renovation. So we're trying to move forward and use the budget neutral energy performance project with Train to address a lot of our needs immediately rather than try to wait. So we have Mrs. Kathy Cox with Train here tonight. I think y'all have all met her before, and she would like to introduce her team, the team of engineers that's been working with us so far. And if you have any questions at the end of the presentation, feel free to ask me or Mrs. Cox, and we'll be glad to answer your questions.
Good evening, Chairman, ladies, gentlemen of the board, and Mr. Nichols. It's good to see you again. It's been a little while since I was here, but I have brought reinforcements with me this evening. I'd like to introduce the project team that has been spending hours walking through the facilities and really getting to know your school system, how you operate, your future plans, and one of our energy engineer will speak later. So let me introduce the team tonight. Heather Wheeler is your local account manager. Stand up. Feel free to come closer. You all can feel free to come closer. And Craig Washburn, our energy engineer. and Mr. Ed Ashburn, our project developer. It definitely takes a team to put together an energy savings project. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing to date, the progress we've made, where we are at this point, and we are here to answer any questions that you might have. Hopefully we'll have an answer. But so since being here in December, can we go to the next slide? First thing we do is when we start a project is we really want to understand where your comprehensive plan is, what your plans are for the schools that we're looking at. In this project, we're just looking at the 4 elementary schools. So it's important for us to understand what's going to be happening in those schools, around those schools, for the next 15 to 20 years. We certainly want to make suggestions that coincide with the capital improvement plans and your plans for those facilities. If you're going to do renovations, extensive, or infrastructure improvements, anything that we do, we want to make sure that those improvements will last and provide energy savings moving forward. So we have worked with Mr. Dalton to understand what exactly needs to be happening in those schools in the next 1, 5, 15 years. So next slide, please. So it is a work in progress. What we did as a comprehensive plan was to identify all the infrastructure renewal that is necessary. There's a lot that goes into it, and it does take quite an amount of time to do it. Next slide, please. This is just an example of how we put together a comprehensive plan and all the areas that you really need to look at. And one of the things that we like to do is equate everything to energy savings. We are an energy savings company, and so we're always looking for anything within the facility that could possibly save energy and how that would affect how the facility operates. Next one. We've done performance contracting all over the Commonwealth. I always think it's helpful to reach out to your peers. I think I suggested that the first time we got together, but here's just an example of some of the projects we've done throughout the Commonwealth. And if you'll go to the next slide. There's 3 slides here where we have done projects for public school systems in Virginia, and the reason I included these was that you could see some of the things that Craig is about to talk about within your school systems are very common in the school systems that we've worked for, controls upgrades and lighting. If you'll remember when I was with you before, I gave you an acronym, an ECM, an energy conservation measure. Those ECMs are what we call the low-hanging fruit. They are what build the project. They save you energy. There's also FIMS, facility improvement measures. We went from looking at a huge comprehensive project, what it would take to renew all the infrastructure, down to just looking at an energy savings project at this time. So Lunenburg was a great example of something that was a cash flow neutral project that the energy savings paid for the improvements over time. Next slide, please. Pennsylvania County Schools, we just finished the 2nd phase for them. Again, I wanted to point out lighting you'll see is prevalent. That usually is the low-hanging fruit, and upgrades to control systems and some other HVAC improvements. Next slide, please. The reason I wanted to put Tazewell County Public Schools in here is because they had BARD units similar to what you have, and so we put a plan in place that they would continue to use those units and still have energy savings around them. Next slide, please. So here is Craig Washburn, our energy engineer, to talk a little bit about the energy conservation measures in the schools.
I have to check the slide here. Kathy likes to insert lines in my slides to throw me off. So while we're going through your buildings, we see a lot of similarities to other school systems. You guys saw a few of the examples that Kathy talked about. Looking at a project that's self-funded, which means we need to incorporate some low-hanging fruit, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to go in and try to give you something that you're going to see benefits outside of purely energy savings. So lighting upgrades. The current technology now is LED. You can see what that stands for, light emitting diode. That is the latest and greatest system. We're looking to go in and upgrade your interior and your exterior lighting to that system. So not only are we going to reduce wattage from that lighting system, but in many cases we will actually improve light level and light quality in your classroom. So even though the power consumption is going down, the actual, it'll appear brighter in your classrooms in many cases. Water upgrades, there, I'm not going to go in order here, but water upgrades, fairly straightforward, taking you from high consumption fixtures to low consumption. In many cases, that just involves replacement of the flush valves or installing an aerator on your existing sinks. In some cases, in some of the really old fixtures, it'll require going in and changing out some china. And we'll have a customized approach depending on what you have in your building. So we have a detailed analysis on that. Building envelope improvements, this is not going in and replacing windows and doing major roof upgrades. These are simple, inexpensive items such as caulking the side of a window, installing a door sweep under your doors, installing insulation where you don't have any and you should. Basically, the way I like to equate it is if you're standing inside the building and looking outside and you see daylight, we'll probably have that in our project to go in and seal it. So I don't want anybody to get confused about building envelope because that can cover a broad range of things. Building automation systems, this is probably the biggest benefit that you'll see in the project. You have a building automation system currently in South Hill Elementary. We're going to look to upgrade your other elementary schools and get you a system in there that is very similar to that. And go to the next slide, please. And you can see we grouped Chase City, La Crosse, and Clarksville together. They were all built together and renovated together, so they present a very similar project overall. You can see all the ECMs up there. In Chase City and La Crosse, they have what's called a pneumatic control system, very unreliable. System was installed in the 60s or 70s, and it's very troublesome to maintain. In fact, you can't really find people to maintain it effectively anymore. So we will look to install a direct digital control system in those schools. Like I said, it will be similar to what you have in South Hill, where you can see a web-based application. Brian can pull it up in his office and make changes from there. Also, we want to emphasize that the systems that we're going to put in can be expanded upon as you renovate and put additions on these schools. So, next slide, please. At South Hill Elementary, it's a much newer school. Like I said, you already have a direct digital control system in there. In this case, we're just looking to optimize what you have in there. In other words, if your system is running at night when the building's empty, we're looking to turn that off. Nothing saves more than off. I learned that a long time ago. So if you can find a way to control your system and turn it off to when you don't need it, you're going to save energy. It's really that simple. Next slide. So we're still working on these numbers. The current project size, you can see roughly 1.2 to 1.5 million. Ed and I are still working on the project, and Kathy and Heather as well, trying to get this into a project that'll self-fund. In other words, the energy savings pays for the project over a 12 to 15-year period. And we need to find the biggest bang for your buck while maintaining budget neutrality there. So that's the objective, and that's what we're working on still. We hope to have you numbers soon. Next slide, please. Kathy, I believe this is yours.
So our next steps at this point are to finalize both the cost and the energy savings. And this is where we sit down with the facility maintenance director, Mr. Dalton and Mr. Nichols, and whoever would like to be involved and really customize the project to what Craig said, the biggest bang for the buck. Just as much energy savings as we can get and still meeting the needs of each of the four schools. So, and one thing we really want to stress is we are focused on each component having the flexibility to be used in the future. These are 15-year energy savings projects. If you were going to go in and replace something the following year, it wouldn't make sense to put something in that's going to be renovated soon. So we are working diligently to make sure whatever is in the comprehensive plan for the next 15 years, we incorporate that in the thought process in developing your project. So, and that's our presentation, and we are here to answer questions. Do you have any?
How long do you think it'll be before you get back with the numbers? I know it's complicated.
Yes, end of May, 1st of June, right during that time frame, right there. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you.
No more questions, really? Okay. Thank you all. Have a good
We'll
evening.
depend on Mr. Dalton to convey to us.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Put him on the hot seat. I will add, though, that, of course, as we've talked with the Board of Supervisors about budgetary issues, the board is all aware that there have been several priorities. Of course, one of which we're working with them on is the priority of the new buildings for the secondary level. Second priority, and there's no order to this, they're all priorities. But a second priority is the increase in salary opportunities for our staff members, teachers and others. And then, of course, we've been talking about this tonight as a third priority, maintaining the buildings that we have so that they don't get to be in such a sad shape that we have to do something as drastic as what we're having to do with the secondary schools at this point. And it's a significant component. We have asked for additional monies, as you will remember, in the budget for the maintaining of the buildings, and not just these areas, but on that checklist that was given where there was the heating, the air conditioning, the tiles, the asbestos abatement, all those things. All those are issues that we're looking at and prioritizing, as is mentioned, for a long 5-year plan, and we will be taking that 5-year plan as we update year to year to year, and building on the solid reputation, I believe, that Mr. Dalton and the maintenance crew and the custodial crew, with leadership from the principals and others, has been giving. So it's all a part of the budget process. It's not cheap. We're looking to save monies everywhere that we can and provide the best guidance that we can for the benefit of the taxpayers of the county to get what we need, and I mean need in a very liberal standpoint, because there's a lot that we need, but education is a whole new process, and we're doing the best we can to move forward with it. And we appreciate Train working with us on looking at how we can prioritize these items and get some good funding back for what they continue to call the low-hanging fruit, and look for some of the other fruit that will help us in the long run. So thank you to Mr. Dalton, and thank you to the team from Train. I know that we've had a lot of presentations tonight, and I know that usually under my own comments, I have quite a few things to share. I'm holding back tonight for one that is a chief priority, and I'm going to pass these papers out. As we have been working on the Joint Education Committee plans, and identifying with the Board of Supervisors, members that are on that committee, the engineers that are going to be doing the land development. And we had a chance to interview, and I know that Mr. Edwards will be sharing some on the committee reports about that. But one of the components that has been very clear as the engineers that we did interview talked with us is that even at the process of looking at land, there's a need for a vision, a clear vision about instructionally, academically, athletically, what do we want to do with the new secondary schools. Throughout my tenure here, I have continued to talk about the fact that the state and the nation are going through some significant changes in expectations for education, so that it's not focusing only on students passing tests, but on truly becoming prepared for careers in the 21st century. In January of 2017, the state board passed the new regulations for a high school diploma that will be in place for our 7th graders and below. The actual academics are, at first glance, don't seem to be that much different than what we currently have for the standard and advanced studies diploma. But when you read into the document in greater detail, such as in the document that I've given to you, you can see that there is so much more given to the 4 pillars that our counselors talked about and that we've been presenting in the Portrait of a Graduate, that students will need to do to be prepared for career literacy, prepared with career and technical programs and certifications, prepared with community interaction, prepared in all of these ways. And both the federal and state governments are making a lot of the fact that a great deal of the responsibility of what that looks like is going to fall back on the local school boards and local communities to determine details. With this document in place, and knowing that we're looking at significant new buildings and what new buildings can best look like for the education over the next 50 years and preparing for a career job opportunities that are significantly different than what they have been in the past, with students needing to specialize and needing to have a lot of understanding of their own motivation. I'm going to propose to you tonight the desire to put a committee of community people and school people together that will take a strong look at this document and be able to bring to the board recommendations about a final plan of what students will need to get a diploma for our 7th graders and below. And we've talked in general about the career centers. That's been not so general that it's not something that people can wrap their head around. We've looked at some specific career opportunities. Now we need to go to some detail. What could that look like in new buildings? Now, I don't mean that we're necessarily ready to start talking with architects, but we need to begin pulling the people together that really have some ideas for each of those career areas and say, what does it take to be doing training? Where do we get the best certifications? Is that something that's going to be at a career center specifically, or is it something that we will be taking advantage of through the community colleges or the higher ed centers that are in the area? What type of partnerships? What type of digital badges at the middle school and other areas? Bringing on people for athletics that have a very good sense of the opportunities for school athletic growth. We've been somewhat limited in the number of athletic programs that we can offer because we have 2 that we've tried to keep balanced pretty well. I think that we have a lot of opportunity to add some programs to that in our future. The field hockey is an area that is growing. Tennis is an area that's growing. We want to take a good look at those areas as well as our academics to really be in a position so that at the time and place when we are ready to go out for bid for architects, we can know what we want to talk with them about. And so I'm going to probably be even asking some of you to work with me on a committee and have in mind, like we had over a year ago when they were first started looking at, what type of secondary school process do we want to build, and got some input from the community. I don't know that we'll have the public hearings like we've had before, but we do want to get some experts involved in this process. And this will be a guide in many ways, because it will point out what do students need to have, what are the areas that the state's looking for, what do portfolios look like, what are we meeting with our goals with such programs as the Maury Personal Learning Platform, the career literacy program that the counselors have put together, the CTE programs that we've already had Mr. Cyphers and Ms. Height and others work with us on putting together in league with the community college. Let's get that on paper and then get it approved by you all so that we can be ready when the time comes for us to move to the next step. I do not have all 44 pages of the actual document that the state board put together because it was not necessary. There's a lot of other things. What I've done is gone back to the Department of Ed and say, give me the specific material that we need for this committee, and this is the information that the DOE has given us. So unless you as you might have questions tonight, I'll be glad to answer them. It's nothing to vote on yet. We want to put this committee together and start moving forward, but if you have questions, I'll be certainly glad to answer them.
How many people are you looking to serve?
I haven't determined that yet. I think I would like to have some input from those of you on the board. I think we need to talk with Mr. Cyphers about the persons that are currently serving on the CTE Advisory Committee. We've got the Governor's School representation. We want to make sure that Governor's School, community, all of the players that we can think of are represented to be able to have some input on this. But we can't have so many that we can't make any decisions. So it could be an advisory, but also a single group from some of our administrators and counselors and teachers that would be involved in a specific process to pull some of this together. And if there are not other questions, I'll give this to you to look at, and you can be getting in touch with me individually about this and with your ideas. And then we will consider it again when we have our May meeting and hopefully be in a position to really offer have things ready to go when we know we're ready to move forward. And Mr. Chairman, with that, I will, because that's going to be a lot of responsibility, but with that, I will let you go ahead with the chairman's remarks and the committee reports for the evening.
All right. Well, I'll pass on the remarks and we'll go right to the committee reports. Let's see, Joint Education Capital Improvement Committee, Finance Committee.
A few words. We had our joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors. Interviews have taken place, and we have narrowed all the engineers down to look at new sites for the new Central High School, middle school. Negotiations are taking place right now as far as cost and some of the suggested sites. So we'll be getting back. We will have another meeting in May to maybe finalize that. At that point, I think after the negotiations, then we will have an engineer in place, and they were talking probably 30 to 60 days to find a site. I think what the process we need to do now is, and we talk, the supervisors at that point will turn everything over to this board to design a high school to fit with the sites, and it'll be time maybe to look at putting out an RFP for an architect. Some of the things we need to have meetings on, we need to have some work sessions with this board to talk about what we want to do so that we don't waste time when we get an architect and we start interviewing. We have to design, do we want to do a design build? Do we want to do a PPEA, which is a totally different process? Do we want to do construction management? There are different ways of building schools. I have my preferences, but I'm just one on a board of 9. We want to do it. We only get one shot at this. I've been on this board for 14 years, and I've been on these committees for 20 years. And I said a year and a half or so ago, when this election happened, that this would be probably the most important school board that was seated in the last 30, 40 years, because we're going to be responsible for designing not only education, future education, but all of our facilities for our high school, middle schools for the next 50 years. And that's a big undertaking, and we don't want to make any mistakes. So I just think I'll get with the chairman and see if we can set up some times to have some work sessions and start to work. And we have to decide if we want auditorium, how many kids it should seat, and what type of designs. And we can also start looking at whether we want brick and mortar, whether we want concrete, some of the things, and get some of the groundwork out of the way before we waste time with an architect and spin our wheels for another 2 years. I want to live to see this, and and that's I think we can move forward and make some recommendations to an architect when we get ready for one. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. The Finance Committee?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee met this afternoon at 4, and we had some presentations from Ms. Moore, who's our Food Service Director. We still have some issues with unpaid meal balances in all of our schools. The state superintendent has required that each school division come up with unpaid meal balance policies, and those policies will need to be in place by July 1st. So Dr. Majette and Ms. Moore are working on that policy. The Finance Committee got a very rough draft of that policy today. And we will be looking at that again next month to make a recommendation to the full board so that we can start to implement policy so that those balances do not continue to rise. It's not a problem that is unique to Mecklenburg. We're finding that all school divisions across the state are having unpaid meal balances. So it will have to be a team effort. We do have 2 schools in our division that have actually decreased their unpaid meal balances in the last couple of months, and that goes to work on the cafeteria staff and the principals in those buildings to get those balances down. But that is policy that you will be looking at to put in place by July 1. The Finance Committee also talked about the policy D changes that were suggested to us from Ms. Alga last month, and we are recommending that those be put into place. Also, Mr. Nichols and Mr. Dalton have recommended an amendment to our small purchasing regulations. Right now, that amount is at $2,500. That has been recommended that be increased to $7,500, and that is a regulation, and we will not be voting on that. The Finance Committee does agree with that recommendation. It's hard to get vendors to bid on a project that's as small as $2,500. So we'll be recommending that be increased. We also heard from Mr. Cyphers on our Perkins plan, and we are also recommending that be approved. And we also looked at our bills that are due for payment, and we will have a recommendation for the board on those as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The Gifted and Talented Special Ed Health and Family Committee.
Tomorrow at 8:15, Government School at Keithville is having their senior symposium. Also, Robert Tyner and Hunter Pulley have been accepted to Summer Residential Government School of Math, Science, and Technology.
All right, great, thank you. The CTE Career and Technical Education Committee. Mr. Cyphers, you have something for us?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nichols, and board members. Tonight, our 2017-2018 Perkins Plan is on the agenda for action. And the plan is pretty much the same that we presented to you all last month. We have still not received our final allocation from the state. So anytime while we're waiting for that, the Department of Education always recommends that we use the allocation that we received from last year. So last year we received $99,407.86. And right now we're going with that same allocation. We're hoping to receive the allocation for next year prior to the due date of April 27th. But as of right now, our plan will be submitted with the $99,407.86. Do you all have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a report for the Athletic Discipline Committee?
Nothing to report tonight.
Okay. We're now at the public input portion of our meeting. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak?
No, not tonight.
All right. We'll move on to our action items. Come up here. Let's see, do I have a motion that the school board approves the minutes of the regular school board meeting held on March 20th, 2017?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Honeycutt, seconded by Mr. Edwards. Roll call?
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Do I have a motion that the school board approves the payment of the bills?
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee makes the recommendation that the bills be paid as they were presented.
All right, roll call?
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Do I have a motion that the school board approves the personnel recommendations?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Honeycutt, seconded by Mr. Palmer. Roll call?
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Sturtevant? I'm sorry, Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Do I have a motion that the school board approves the 2017-18 Perkins Plan?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Edwards, seconded by Mr. Sturtevant. Roll call?
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Do I have a motion that the school board approves the special education annual plan?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Sturtevant, seconded by Ms. Garner. Roll call?
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Do I have a motion that the school board approves the policy revisions to A, B, C, D, GBA, and JFHA, and JEC, and JECR?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Bailey, seconded by Mr. Honeycutt. Roll call.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Do I have a motion that the school board approves the new mission statement?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Sturtevant, seconded by Ms. Bailey. Is there some discussion?
No.
Okay.
Who was the second? I
Well,
wasn't
that
the
wasn't you,
second. It
Mr.
wasn't me.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Johnson was the second.
I just,
That's all right.
so that was, who made the motion?
I did.
I was confused. Okay, Mr. Sturtevant, seconded by Mr. Johnson. Roll call.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. And do I have a motion that the school board approves the I Am Enough curriculum?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Honeycutt and a second from Ms. Bailey, but I do have some questions on this one. Mr. Nichols, looking through, you handed this out to us last month, or somebody
Yes.
did.
Yes.
Some of the scenarios that were offered in the middle of this packet, one of them was talking about a student that was pregnant and was able to get free pregnancy screenings and this thing. Does this circumvent the parents at all? How does this work? I don't,
No, it would not be something to circumvent the parents. It's
Okay.
just a knowledge, it's an opportunity for them to understand there are services that are out there.
okay, because it says we were able to provide a free pregnancy test.
That's just a general statement.
Okay.
To let students know if they had need of such services, they could be available, but it's certainly not recommending that they bypass parents.
Okay. And how about our counselors, the school counselors? How does this work with our school
The
counselors?
counselors could be a part of the whole process.
They are part of-
don't, they're not asked to do the training, but they are available. I mean, they would be made aware of the whole process.
Okay. All right, thank you. We have the motion and the second. Did
I
you
have a
get-
question.
Okay.
Was this reviewed with our attorney?
No, sir. But it is being used in other schools. I'll be happy to take it and review it.
It's just a question I had.
Do you want to table this one to?
I do.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we table this until we get further information.
I'll second that. Okay, we have a motion to table this plan, what is it called? I Am Enough.
Could we-
And, go ahead.
Could we be more specific and
the
put a
packet was-
time frame around it instead of tabling it? Could we say we postpone the vote till next month until we get more information? Is that there's a difference?
The packet was given out last month. I mean, I read it fully.
I make a motion that we table this till we get more information to be brought up for vote next month.
Thank you.
What is the information that we need?
He wants the attorney to look at.
Check it with our attorney to make sure that we're not.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So the motion was to table it until we can consult with our attorney to come up for vote again next month.
Yes.
Do I have a second for that?
Mr. Palmer did.
Mr. Palmer. So I have a motion for Mr. Sturtevant to table with all the add-ons there, and seconded by Mr. Palmer. Roll call.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
No.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. All right, we're to our reminders. May 15th, the VSBA workshop for the board here. That'll happen before our normal board meeting, which is
But the board meeting is listed for the 16th.
On Tuesday.
Okay.
Is there a reason or just?
No, I don't know. That's just a typo? Okay, so our board meeting is going to be the 15th, correct? Thank you, Ms. Garner. And then we got graduation, half-day teacher workday on the 20th, 23rd, half-day for students, half-day teacher workday, the 24th, teacher workday, the 25th, professional development day, and of course, the 29th is Memorial Day. Now we'll have a chance for board member.
If I might add one.
Yes, please.
That's just a reminder, tomorrow is our luncheon that we're sponsoring with the McBeat program and the president of the state chamber at Bryan's.
Okay.
And several of you I know have put in your reservations for that. There's still time if you can show up tomorrow at 12.
All right. Let's see, board member remarks. Can we start with you, Ms. Garner?
That's fine. I am especially proud of the three girls from Parkview. They have done an outstanding job to be going to California. Also like to congratulate all the other kids that we had tonight. Band, seniors of the month. And I would like to give my special thanks to certain ones in the central office because you have solved a lot of problems for me this month. So thank you, everybody.
Mr. Sturtevant?
I don't have anything tonight.
Mr. Johnson?
I was reminded last week for some girls that work at McDonald's that we got the prom coming up next weekend. And that's always a time of year that I'm on edge, even when my kids were going to prom. So let's just remember our kids, talk to them, and instruct them how to behave and be careful out there on the highway. That's my prayer, they'll be safe. So.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Bailey?
Yes, I just wanted to thank Mr. Cyphers and his team for the reality store that took place at Parkview and Bluestone High School. It seems like it took place like 2 months ago, but I think it was just a couple of weeks. A lot happens in a short period of time, but it was just a great event for our students to experience. Someone hands them a piece of paper with their income and their family size, and they have to go find housing and insurance and a car to drive and make a budget, and that it's just invaluable. And to see some of the looks on their faces, how am I going to make this happen? And the fact that we're challenging them with those types of problems. It needs to be an annual event, and thanks to the 4-H folks for making that available to our students. It's quality, and we need to be doing that and so much more. And thanks to all the volunteers. There were teachers and central office people and folks that work in the community. It was just a great gathering and energizing. And I just want to thank those folks who had a hand in all that.
Thank you. Mr. Edwards?
It's looking into the future. This new high school, middle school, and our junior ROTC tonight says a lot, because the opportunity for that to grow will be with the Central High School, middle school. It can be expanded, and with all the respect we owe to our armed forces, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for our kids in Mecklenburg County with this school being in a central location, so all these kids will be able to have input. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer?
Sure. I want to say, as some of our members have already stated, how proud I am of the students that came before us tonight. You know, we have a lot of critics in our society who make statements like, I don't know where our youngsters are headed. What will the society look like in the future with youngsters being the leaders? I just wish they could have been here, because I know this group that are here tonight know that youngsters are just like when we came along. We may have had different ways of doing things, but yet and still we survived. And we have a society that is functioning and doing well. And these youngsters that came out tonight to be recognized, and I also want to recognize those teachers that are the leaders of these youngsters. But I am so proud of our youngsters, and I want our critics to sometime come out and hear some of the good things that are going on in our school systems. That's my speech for tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell?
I have no.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Echo what several of our other board members have already said about everyone that has been here tonight and all of the recognitions. It makes me proud as a school board member to witness all of that and to see the progress that our students are making in the future, because they are our future. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the staff of our central office. Most of you have been very forthcoming when I call and ask a question, and have been very receptive when I need to know an answer about something. And I just want to let you know, those ones of you who have done a great job at educating me, I just want to say I appreciate you. When I do call and have a concern, I want to be the best school board member I can possibly be. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I agree that we have some impressive students, and that doesn't happen by accident. They have come from great families, and we have great teachers that do a lot of hard work and a lot of extracurricular things and spend a lot of their own time. So I appreciate the teachers. I know if we can take care of our teachers, they'll take care of the students for us. And it's also getting close to budget season. Well, I guess we're in budget season now. So you see some stuff in the paper about the Board of Supervisors and the budgets they're proposing. So if you want to speak up on that, now's the time to do it. This is the season. We have a lot of needs in the school system. We have needs for a lot of teacher vacancies and teachers that we have now, competitive pay for them, and so there's a lot of needs. So please keep in mind and stay involved in that process, because that's important. It's important what you think.
as you mentioned that, I will also say that Ms. Algar, our HR director, has set up a special program for hopefully recruiting new teachers. Ms. Algar, that date is May 6th. May 6th. If anybody knows potential teachers that are looking for jobs, or even if they're not looking for jobs, if they can recruit them from somewhere else, we're not beyond that at this point. May the 6th here, it's a Saturday, our administrators are going to be out for that special program. We're doing everything we can think of to try to get these positions filled. And it's tough out there, so thank
Very
you.
tough. Thank you. All right, we're done with our business tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. All right. We're finished.